Brock Purdy. I see my phone has like 80 messages, and I'm like, oh, no, who died? You have that thought, like, what happened?
Somebody died.
And no, quite the opposite. Brock Purdy signs a deal of all deals with the 49ers, and I want to thank Dan Beyer, who was covering for us, covered the story perfectly, and Dan was kind enough to call me to get my 49er perspective.
Yeah.
Well, we figured it was only right. Like, what luck that you would be on the air in the morning,
yes,
not when the news actually broke. And it wasn't like 6:45 Eastern, 3:45 Pacific. It was 5:03 Eastern, 2:03. So right at the start of the show. So you would have had all 2 hours to talk Brock Purdy.
It was like tailor-made for Rich, but we filled in for Dan, so we missed it.
Maybe it's good we weren't here.
Yeah, maybe not, because you would have heard Rich just screaming about it for 2 hours.
Brock Purdy.
But DB, real solid move to call up Rich or get Rich on the horn to give his 2 cents. But what was your first thoughts, Rich, when you heard the big announcement?
Initially, I didn't have like a love or hatred of the deal, but the more I'm looking at it and the more, hearing Dan and Monty talk about it on Friday.
Seems really fair. That's my first instinct.
And
fair
sometimes
for all parties.
You nailed it. Sometimes when something's so fair,
mm-hmm,
the story's sort of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's nice, right? It's like, hey, yeah, that makes sense.
I almost feel like they got it right, where for us, when we do a radio show, a podcast, we're having fun, it would be more entertaining to be like, man, he took the 49ers for all they're worth, or, man, I can't believe the Niners stiffed him. Like, the storyline to me seems like, all right, now he's, the 7th or 8th most highest paid quarterback, which if the 49ers think he's the guy to win, that seems about where he should be, top 10, but not at the top.
How did he get a no-trade clause?
Maybe that's how he got a more fair deal out of it. Maybe he's like, look, I'm not going to try to haggle with you over chump change, but throw that clause in there and we got a deal.
I mean, there's guys above him on the pay grade scale that I don't think are that much better than him. I think he's sort of where he fits, I guess you'd say.
I think your point, and it's something that Monty and I talked about on Friday, of the belief of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, that there may be 31 other teams that wouldn't want to pay him $53 million a year, but the 49ers were willing to do so. And I also just never thought that he was going to get a Sam Darnold $40 million a year contract. And so when people were saying that, oh, they spent too much, that wasn't the question. It's, do you want to spend $50 million and have him, or you want to let go and go in a different direction? Because there was no way he was going to take anything less than what he got.
And if you believe in Brock Purdy, as far as pay goes, let me read some of the names.
Do you believe in Brock Purdy?
Do you believe in Purdy? And I hope you do. Now listen, he's no Josh Allen. He's no Joe Burrow. And those guys only making a couple mil more a year. Dak Prescott. I'm not me. I don't think Dak's should be the highest paid.
Yeah, but that's all the flex of the NFL. Sometimes I believe that players go to places they wouldn't normally want. Boy, Juan Soto.
Oh, jeez. We're not talking about Juan Soto.
I know. I'm just saying.
I don't think Juan Soto cared to be the highest paid, by the way.
Yeah. All right. He seems real happy with the Mets. It's all about the money. You're crazy if you think it was about the Mets.
Now, guys that are making around the same money as Brock Purdy are guys that I don't think are much better than him or better than him at all. So I feel like if you look at, like Danny G, if I say...
It's also fit, though. That's why this makes sense. It's a good fit for both.
Jared Goff, like those are guys that you would put in the same conversation, same breath as Purdy.
Really?
You don't think?
Talent-wise, I don't know.
Like I think I would take him over Tua any day of the week. And Jared Goff, I think they're in the same conversation. I don't look at Jared Goff and say, you know what? The Rams got rid of Jared Goff to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but then he's gone on to have success with the Lions when everybody thought he was a throwaway in the trade.
Same level of success Brock Purdy's had with the Niners.
You got to strip away who's around him and what kind of play caller he has or what kind of like offensive scheme he has. I think they're very comparable because the Lions have a lot of weapons. Mm-hmm. The Niners have a lot of weapons. They both have had great play callers. So I think that's about on par.
And when the 49ers were decimated, Brock Purdy played okay. when Jared Goff played on teams that didn't have a lot of weapons, it was okay. Like I think it's comparable. I think they're awfully close to the highest paid guys, but then again, all the quarterbacks, these guys are all $50 million men now.
I mean, last year on our show, you said you thought he was around a $45 million quarterback.
And you know what? Going into this negotiation, I can't lie. I think I believe that, but if you think he's the guy, you're going to have to pay him this amount.
Yeah, and that number's not realistic.
Yeah.
It's not. They're going to pay him $45 million. Again, they're saying we will pay you 40 to 45, but if not, then we'll just go in a different direction. And I don't think that they're ready to go in a different direction, so they have to pay the tax of bumping it up if you want to look at it that way. I don't think the 49ers look at it as a tax. I think they fully believe in everything that he's done.
I have a question. We talk about this in all other forms of business. Like, whatever you do for a living, listening around the country right now, if you told your boss, like, this is what I want, or I'll go elsewhere, listen, if you could go elsewhere, go get paid, right? I just wonder, is there another team in the NFL that would have paid Brock Purdy $53 million? Because that's what market value would dictate, but I just don't know. I think the Niners were fair to him, also based on the fact that he got him to a Super Bowl and an NFC Championship game, making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Proven he could do it there with that system, and that he's coachable, much like Goff, as Sam insinuated before. So, yeah, very comparable. So I think, again, like you said, Rich, it may be boring, but it's actually nice to hear that it seemed like a fair deal for everyone involved.
Yeah,
it just made sense. Like, hey,
partly why I don't think there's much meat on this bone, as they say, because, again, I feel like it was a story that sort of came and went because I think the narrative is like, well, I guess it's sort of a fair deal. Moving along. No controversy.
But to answer your question,
Lynch and Shanahan like him, you know?
I don't think a lot of teams would have paid him more than that. So he took what he can get, and he was happy with it, and both parties win.
But not only took what he could get, I'm saying if the Niners said, hey, no, 45 a year, what would Brock Purdy have done? Be like, no, I'm not signing. We saw this NFL
but
draft of
it would have
quarterbacks.
prolonged the process.
I know the Niners would then would have been like, oh, man, where do we go from here?
Right.
But I just wonder where Brock Purdy goes from there.
You put the franchise tag on him, which is about $46 million next season, and then you have that same discussion the next year when the franchise tag would be worth even more, and don't have the contract flexibility that you would have in signing him to this sort of long-term deal.
And if you did what you just mapped out, it's disrespectful to a guy that was your Mr. Irrelevant and has done so much and seems to be a popular guy in the clubhouse, locker room, and seems to be a guy that John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, and the 49ers believe in. So
what a story, though. You know,
right?
As you sign this contract and we move forward and we get ready to watch the rest of his career with San Francisco, at least, you have to say one of the better stories in sports ever. It's like the story of the ugly duckling or something brought to life. It really is. Like, no one wanted him. He's irrelevant. And then he flourishes into this beautiful swan of a quarterback that has a big, fat contract now. Honestly, it's one of the best, and that just makes it solid right there. That's the story.
And to your point, Covino, check out this stat. Brock Purdy's rookie contract paid him an average of $934,252 per season. Now he'll make that every 6.4 days.
You know, got to feel good for the kid.
Does he
You gotta
stay
feel
hungry,
good for him.
though? That's the key in all of life and in all of sports. Does he stay hungry? Because what made him great, probably, well, he has great discipline. He seems like a great guy. But it's the fact that he had this chip on his shoulder to prove that he was relevant. Now that he's got his payday, does that change? A guy like him, I don't think so, but you could speculate.
Well, we'll see what happens this year. Now, I'm not saying there's a pressure on, but all right, now you're paid like a top 10 quarterback. Can you take this roster that lost a couple pieces, win 10, 11, 12 games, and get the 49ers back to where they were? If he could do that, then wouldn't you say, well, you know what? He's worth it. He's the guy.
Definitely.
The
only reason you question him, the stats are there. It's already proven. It's his aw shucks little baby boy face and the fact that he's Mr. Irrelevant. He's an unassuming guy. He doesn't have superstar qualities, but he wins.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason we even question it. because he doesn't have superstar qualities. But guess who else didn't? The guy with the sweetest diet that we're going to talk about later, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He wasn't a superstar, but he had work ethic.
And it's funny we're comparing Goff to we're talking about the number 1 overall pick, which was Jared Goff,
Yeah.
to Mr. Irrelevant, the very final pick. And I have to imagine that Goff just being taller and having longer arms and bigger hands made him obviously a more desirable quarterback coming out of college.
Yeah, so 5 years, 265, no trade clause. Danny G scratches his head on that one. Maybe he just threw that in. Like I said, when I'm buying a car at Danny G, right? Just when I'm about to sign the deal, I'm like, you know what? If you throw in some car washes, free car washes, then I'll take it.
Covino said, I want a shoulder massage once a week from your secretary
I
here.
want some sweet new floor mats or something. Those rubber ones. Yeah, I want something. You want something extra, right? Right in there at the end of the deal. Maybe he's like, guys, wait a second. Hold on. I'll do this deal. I love it, in fact. But no trade clause. And like, all right, you know what? Let's just get it done. So props to him, man. It's a really, really great story, Rich.
Well, if you
now
wanna-
what happens here, honestly,
Yeah.
it's not that it doesn't matter, but you got a children's book already. Boom. You know how it ends? And Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, signed a 5-year deal for $265 million. The end. Doesn't matter what he does.
And he won
this guy.
and he won a Super Bowl. Can we throw that in?
I mean, but you could write that book now, and it's a bestseller.
Can we hope that's where the story goes?
But yeah, it could get even better than that.
Well, just to put in perspective,
Don't sleep on it. It's one of the best stories ever.
I was saying
The American dream is still alive.
Yes. Honestly, don't forget about the story. As our old boss used to say, think of the story.
Oh.
This is a movie in the making. And it already ends with a happy ending right here, and it could get even better.
Yeah. Put in perspective, it was 2021 when Brock Purdy waited every single round of that draft thinking, oh, man, all that hard work in college. Every step of the way, man, I'm not going to get drafted. I may end up in a practice squad, maybe a practice squad. Maybe I'll get some reps against, the first team. Maybe some team carries me along and I make practice squad money. He gets picked. Trey Lance stinks. Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt. And here is Brock Purdy. It is an amazing story, but to put in perspective, that draft in 2021, who was the top 20 pick? Mac Jones, right?
In 2021, yeah, I think so, around that time.
Mac Jones
Double
is
check.
now Brock Purdy's backup. Who else was in that draft? Number 3 overall. The 49ers gave up a lot to get Trey Lance,
Oh, yeah.
who signed a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Chargers. So just to show you how much changes, there's no way.
Zach Wilson was in
bro,
that draft,
you could-
number 2.
Jones was 15th overall to the
Trevor
Patriots.
Lawrence was number 1.
Wait, so Zach Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones. Wait, Zach Wilson was in that draft?
Yeah, he was number 2.
And-
Trevor Lawrence, number 1.
And Trevor Lawrence isn't even working out to the way they wanted to. So, that was a quarterback top-heavy draft, and Brock Purdy was probably thinking, man, it's not going to work out. Meanwhile, here's a guy a couple years later just to show you how things could change so
Justin
quickly.
Fields, too.
Does he ever think he would have been the
No.
guy making $50 to $60 million?
So just on overthecap.com, when you break down their yearly salaries, Purdy is behind Mac Jones and Curtis Rourke on his own team of salaries for what would be for the rookie contract. What'd you say, Danny? $934,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned Jones being the backup. Curtis Rourke's deal is actually worth more than what Purdy had. So.
Man. So just to show you how just belief in yourself.
That's it. By the way, did you ever see that clip? You had to have because you're a 49ers fan,
Yeah.
but not everybody lives for the 49ers like Rich does, where Nick Bosa has a one-on-one, private moment with Purdy captured on film, and Bosa's he opens up real vulnerable, and he's like, I was a first-round pick, man, and I'm nervous sometimes, man. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you have that belief in yourself, man. And Brock Purdy's almost brought to tears because he just has this crazy belief in himself that you just got to give him credit where it's due.
Good for him. Give credit where it's due.
Rich, do you ever think about how 2 Super Bowls ago you could have ended Purdy's career prematurely because he almost tore his ACL when you
Chased him
scared
down.
him in the staircase.
But I
Imagine.
chased him down a stairwell. By the way, happy for Brock. Let's go Niners. And
Young quarterback has heart attack because he's startled by maniac fans.
And Fred Warner got his deal. We had that at the top of the hour. So he's the highest paid linebacker again in the National Football League.
And you know what?
Niners making it rain right now.
So you know what? Maybe all is okay in the Bay Area, Santa Clara. We'll see. I mean, their schedule. I've heard Colin point this out. Stars. But if Brock Purdy can't win 11, 12 games with this weak-ass schedule they got, then you got to start scratching your head. But the 49ers have the weakest schedule I've seen in a decade.